Hello class 9 students, welcome back once again to your biology class. In our last class, we have been learning the chapter of why do we fall ill. Today also we will continue the remaining portion in our class. So let us start the class. So our portion from which we are going to start today is the communicable diseases. The communicable diseases, how these are transmitted? These are transmitted from the reservoir or source of infection to a susceptible host. Source of infection. Source of infection means it is defined as the person, the animal, the object or substance from which an infectious agent passes or is disseminated to the host. A reservoir. What is reservoir? It is not reservoir of tank or reservoir of water. The reservoir of disease, it is defined as any person or animal. Arthropod, it can be a plant, it can be soil, or it can be the substances or combination of all of these, in which an infectious agent lives and multiplies, on which it depends primarily for its survival. So, it reproduces itself, it multiplies itself, right? And it completely depends on the host. The reservoir of the disease can be human in case of mumps, polio, hepatitis, Japanese encephalitis, influenza, diphtheria, typhoid, dysentery, cholera, whooping cough, etc. Or it can be animals for rabies, yellow fever, etc. Or the non-living things like the soil, which contain the agents which cause the disease like tetanus, anthrax, etc. Right? Now, what are the modes of infection or modes of transmission of the disease? An infectious disease is transmitted by only one route. Example, the typhoid fever by the vehicle transmission and common cold by direct contact. But there are other diseases which can be transmitted by several routes like AIDS, hepatitis B, etc. The multiple transmission routes enhance the survival of the infectious agent. The mode of transmission of these infectious diseases we will discuss in details now. First is by direct transmission. From the word you can understand, by direct transmission means diseases like AIDS, leprosy, skin infections, eye infections, these are transmitted by direct contact with the source. Okay, so this is by direct contact, when you are directly coming in contact with the person who is suffering from that particular disease. By droplet infection, different diseases like the respiratory infections, the infections of the nervous system, the common cold, diphtheria, whooping cough, tuberculosis, meningitis, etc. These are transmitted by means of droplets. Droplets means by the spray of saliva from the saliva of the infected person and from the nasopharyngeal secretions of the infected person during the process of coughing and sneezing or speaking or spitting. These droplets may contain millions of bacteria and virus of this disease. And when this droplet is reaching within us through our oral passage, through our nasal passage, then that person again is infected by this disease. Okay, next is by contact with the soil. Contact with the soil. The compost, the decaying vegetable matter, they have disease agent like hookworm, larva, tetanus, etc. So when the healthy person is coming in contact directly with the soil, if these type of agents are present in the soil, then the healthy person also will be infected by this disease. Next is by inoculation. Inoculation into the skin by contaminated needles, by contaminated syringes of rabies virus, syphilis, hepatitis B, AIDS, etc. Those who are taking intravenous drugs, they are using the syringe. Through the syringe, they are injecting the drugs within their veins. As a result, what happens if that syringe is already used by such patient who is having hepatitis B and who is having AIDS and so on, which I told, then the healthy person who is having intravenous drugs, although he had no previous contact with that disease, but now he will be directly infected by these diseases. Okay, and herpes virus, this is transmitted transplacentally through placenta. Okay, then by dog bite, you have heard about rabies. If the dog is biting, you have to take this rabies. This is the disease basically. The name of the disease is rabies, which is caused by the biting of the dog. So for that, the injection has to be taken. So these are the direct transmission. By direct contact, a person may get infected by droplet infection, by coming in contact with the soil, and by the means of inoculation. Okay, now we come to indirect transmission. Indirect transmission, it occurs through flies, through fingers while you are taking your food, by means of fluid, etc. Right? The infectious agents which are transmitted through water, food, including vegetables, fruits, milk products, ice, by means of blood, serum and plasma also. The transmission is vehicle borne, means it needs some agents. These infectious agents multiply in the vehicle. Like hepatitis A virus, where does it multiply? In the water. Diarrhea, typhoid, cholera, polio, hepatitis A, food poisoning, intestinal parasites, these are transmitted by water and food. Right? Hepatitis B, malaria, syphilis, Chagas disease, these are transmitted by blood and transmitted by vectors. Vectors means the flies, mosquitoes, fleas, cockroaches, the sucking lice, bugs, ticks, etc. And also by different types of vertebrate like mice, bats, rodents, etc. Next, we will know about some human diseases. First, we will know about the diseases which are caused by the virus. Influenza. Influenza or flu. This is an acute respiratory tract infection which is caused by influenza virus. The scientific name of influenza virus is Myxovirus influenzae. There are 3 types of influenza virus, A, B and C. Influenza virus A and B, it is known to cause the epidemic throughout the world. Previous years have shown this severity. So many people used to die because of this A and B strain of the influenza virus. Influenza virus C, it occurs sporadically in the form of small outburst. Now, what is the mode of transmission of influenza? Influenza is spread mainly from person to person by droplet infection, which is created by sneezing, coughing or talking. And the virus is entering the respiratory tract of a healthy person and causes the disease within a healthy person. Okay, now what are the symptoms of influenza? The virus, it causes inflammation and necrosis. Necrosis means decay of the trachea and bronchial mucosa. Both the viruses cause fever, chills, aches, pain, coughing and weakness. Okay, and fever will last for 1 to 5 days, average 3 days in adults, and if fever persists beyond 5 days, then pneumonia may take place. Now, how it is prevented? The prevention. The sufferers should cover their face with handkerchief when coughing and sneezing, and the healthy person should remain away from such patients. Okay, now how this influenza can be controlled? Vaccines are highly effective, though they do not control during the epidemic period. Nowadays, that medical science has advanced so much that epidemics don't take place. They are only recommended in industry and in public servants like police, fire protection, transport and medical care, who are mainly directly dealing with public, right? Antiviral drugs, amantadine, romantadine, these are effective in the treatment of influenza virus A. Next, we will know about hepatitis. You have already known about this term of hepatitis. The hepatitis virus, basically it infects the liver. It is a disease of liver. Hepatitis is caused by any of half a dozen viruses. Hepatitis A virus, hepatitis B, C, D, E, G, so many types of hepatitis. B is also there, it is a DNA virus. And apart from hepatitis B, the rest all are the RNA virus. Okay, now what are the modes of transmission? Whatever disease you are reading about, you have to know about the disease, the causative organism, the mode of transmission, symptoms, prevention and control of each disease. Now what are the modes of transmission of hepatitis? Hepatitis A, it spreads through contaminated food and water. Okay, so you have to be very careful while consuming any type of outside food or water. Water should be very pure. Hepatitis B is transmitted by infected blood, saliva, sweat and tears also. Okay, and what are the symptoms taking place in the person who is having this hepatitis? High blood temperature, high body temperature becomes very high. Headache will take place, joint pains, loss of appetite, feeling of nausea and vomiting. The person doesn't want to eat. Irritating rashes over the body will be taking place, and emission of dark yellow urine and light colored stool after a few days of the occurrence of hepatitis disease. Prevention. How can this disease be prevented? Use disinfectant water. Water should be very clean, pure and hygienic. Before eating food, always wash your hands. Use disposable syringes. No syringes should be used again and again. Single-use syringes should be used. It should be used only once. And vaccination for hepatitis A and B should be taken. Now, what are the control measures of hepatitis? Take a high calorie diet. Okay, having very low protein and fat content. Those who are having this disease, it is the control measure, not for the healthy people. And complete bed rest should be given to such people who is having this disease. Okay, till this much today. We will discuss about the remaining diseases in our next class. Thank you.